So why not and why can't we is the question I often ask regarding Alberta separatism. Why not? The common arguments are going to be that we're landlocked. They're going to be that we'd have to take on a share of the Canadian debt. They're going to be that it's hard. Um, you know, there's going, they're going to be that's very difficult within the Canadian system. The laws don't make it an easy thing, which is unsurprising, of course. Um, but are these things that can't be overcome? Well, I'd argue that they could, and they have been in nations around the globe for millennia. So why not isn't, really a very good argument to me if you understand the reasons why, and I think most of you watching would agree with me as to why Alberta should forge its own path, or at least move in the direction of separatism, so that should we decide to, it's a heck of a lot easier. And why can't we? Again, I mean, it's a similar question. Um, who's stopping us? Really? Who's stopping us? If we don't want in, we don't want in. The only option, ultimately, if we start acting independently, um, is military control. And I guess we'd have to see eventually if the Canadian government would be willing to take it to those steps. But I believe there are ways that we can operate independently uh, while legally still being a part of Canada. We can flex our muscle, so to say. And so in the coming weeks, I'm going to be talking about a number of different things and ways that we may be able to do that. A lot of them I think you're probably very familiar with, and a lot of them, and some of them perhaps less familiar with. And I'm going to try to explore, many of these ideas, and I would certainly like for anyone to share their ideas with me. The point of this is conversation, it's discussion. It's sort of all what if scenarios, and in my opinion, eventually, things that we should implement. Not even eventually, things we should start implementing now, thinking about now, putting into action now. So we're going to talk, I'm going to be talking about, separatism around the globe. We're not the only ones who feel this way, that's for certain. I'm going to talk a little bit about the USA, considering it is, in a way, the world's oldest empire that is intact with its original borders, and also why it's declining, which I think is relevant to the conversation. I'm going to talk about what it means to be happy in empire, or how a nation can keep its people happy, and how that relates to us and why we're not. We've talked about that a little bit already. The importance of free speech and free discourse. Who cares what you are? The argument against the classification of citizens. What exactly is personal freedom and responsibility as I see it? Policing reform, border control, tariffs, tax reform, flat tax versus consumption tax, etc. Criminal code reform, or rather developing our own criminal code. Unions and their place in modern society. The pension plan. Different systems of government that could be more beneficial in the long run. For example, a no-party system and how that could potentially work. Wider use of referenda. Municipal, provincial, and federal jurisdictions, their separations, and how that could be more clearly defined. The individual over the collective and vice versa. I'll talk a little bit on Quebec, what we can learn from them, uh, and those will be some good and some bad. Um, Diverging culture and how that is evidenced in our current situation over time. The implementation of an Alberta Day, whether we are separate or not. Um, I said school reform, but more specifically, adding into a curricula the a focus on Alberta history and its people. So I'm going to be talking about a lot of these things. I'm an expert on none of them. I'm a layman on all of them. Um, Hopefully, some will contribute to the discussion and we can have a back and forth. And hopefully, at some point, I'll be able to have direct discussions with people who are experts in these fields. But I want to let you know that I'm going to be sending out some ideas that may sound extreme in the views of some. They certainly will come across that way, and it's sort of a matter of perspective. But the idea here again is to have a conversation and discuss ways that we can move further in the direction of independence and at least prepare for it. Um, and there, I believe, are many, you know, non-violent, non-aggressive um, ways to do this through the legal system, perhaps bending the rules, or even breaking the rules sometimes. If I go back to why can't we? It's a question I'd like to discuss more, as I talk to people I know in the government and who know about the government and how it operates and laws and that kind of thing. There certainly are some things that the federal government can do, but I'm really curious. We have a separatist party in Quebec that represents Quebec's interests exclusively and has pushed for separation. So if we're doing similar things, we're taking similar actions as our friends out there, what truly are the repercussions of our government? So as a hypothetical, we elect a Western or Alberta First party in this province, and we begin to take actions such as border control. I mean, they talk about being landlocked, and we would have to import through other territories. Well, I would argue much of Canada has to import through BC, and unless they're going to drive up through the Yukon and the Northwest Territories, which I suppose is possible, we certainly have an ability to, control our own border, and anything that we can be held at ransom for, I suppose, I believe, so can they. So, what are the repercussions ultimately, and how can they be enforced, and how can we avoid that enforcement action? I mean, realistically, if we have an entire party who is elected as a majority that is like-minded in this fashion, what are they going to do? Are they going to come in and arrest all of our elected politicians? It certainly wouldn't help their cause. It certainly would make people angry. So I think they're a lot more limited than we maybe would like to believe in terms of forcing Alberta's hand, and that depends on the cooperation of our neighbors. But I think if we really want to put the screws to Ottawa and work for a fair deal and prepare ourselves for an eventual split, that's up to us. And we can do it, and we should do it, because I don't believe that the anger is waning. I see it's only growing. So anyways, those are some of the things I'm going to discuss. I'll try to be more frequent in my posting. And if any of those things are of interest to you, or you have thoughts of your own, please email me, comment, like, share, do whatever you have to do to get the conversation going. And don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to have the conversation, the lively discussion, and debate. That's all for now. I'll see you on the next one.